teams reporting left and right. The Cowboys are in camp. But as always, Jerry Jones is the one taking center stage. We're waiting for a contract extension for Micah Parsons. Should be simple. But with Jerry Jones, it never is. He was asked about it yesterday, and in typical Jerry Jones fashion, he made headlines.
Just because we signed him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously. We've signed, I remember signing a player for the highest paid at the position in the league, and he got knocked out 2/3 of the year, Dak Prescott. So there's a lot of things you can think about when you, just as the player does, when you're thinking about committing and guaranteeing money.
All right, that was rough.
My God, man.
J.J. Watt spoke for, I think, all football players when he posted, anytime you can publicly take a dig at your star quarterback and your star pass rusher simultaneously right before the season begins, you just got to take it. Nothing makes guys want to fight for you more than hearing how upset you are that they got hurt while fighting for you. And it should be noted, Micah Parsons retweeted that. Yeah. Which in the modern parlance is basically the same thing as getting up and screaming, I'm mad.
Yeah.
So let's start with the news part of this, if indeed there is any. What? I mean, did he? I think Jerry Jones also said yesterday he still hasn't spoken to the agent, so they don't seem any closer today as training camp gets underway than they were at any other point to getting a deal done with Micah Parsons, and now he's saying this.
Greeny, my understanding going into training camp was that the Dallas Cowboys hadn't even submitted a contract proposal to Micah Parsons yet. Camp is getting underway. What's the rush? And this is par for the course in Dallas. The Cowboys never seem to move very slowly with any of these big-time contracts. If we go back to last offseason, there's the blueprint. CeeDee Lamb didn't get done until late August. Dak Prescott didn't get done until hours before the season opener against the Cleveland Browns. Now look, if the Dallas Cowboys last year had signed Dak Prescott at the start of the offseason, right around the time that the Lions signed Jared Goff, we could have signed him a contract value in the low 50 millions. It's reasonable to think that that would have been the number in May. It wasn't in September. With CeeDee Lamb, if they had signed him right around the time that Amon-Ra Brown got $30 million, or A.J. Brown $32 million, they waited till August 27th. CeeDee Lamb gets $34 million. Let's just give 32 to CD in April. Let's give 53 to Dak in May. That's $9 million. You know what that pays for last year? Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, if you sign the guys early. But that's not what they did. They waited, and that's what they're doing again. And you know what? They're waiting, and in the end, Micah Parsons is going to become the highest paid defensive player, non-quarterback in NFL history. We could do it July 22nd, we could do it August 22nd, or we could wait to interrupt Sunday Countdown on the first Sunday of the season. Whenever it gets done, it's going to get done. But the Dallas Cowboys don't seem to move quick with any of these big deals.
So here's the thing. That's a tale as old as time. I'm glad that we ran it down because this is the reality, and this shows you that while beyond just the sort of prurient interest that we have in them because they are the NFL's soap opera, it has actual on-the-field consequences. That said, what do we make of Jerry saying this? It's just such a strange thing to say.
So I think that different owners are in the game for different reasons. You assume that everyone wants to win the Super Bowl. I think this is Jerry's favorite part of the job. I think sometimes when an owner drafts a really good player, they're excited because they're like, I'm going to have this great player for 10 years. Jerry's like, I can't wait till 5 years from now to where I can do public negotiations with this guy and mess up our relationship and spend way too much money on the cap. He seems to really enjoy it. When you watch him giving these press conferences, he's so happy and kind of smug, like we're dumb. Yeah. He's looking at us like, hey, I know a player that got hurt. Dak Prescott. He just feels so proud of himself, and it feels like this is the part of the job he loves the most.
There's nothing that signals to a player, you are our future, like telling them you might get hit by a bus. So Jerry Jones' public negotiation tactic, and I call it a tactic because every time they're in this situation, every August, every training camp that comes around where there's a contract dispute, you can almost hear the talking points that he's giving the agent or the player or his team when he's talking to the media. It happened with Zach Martin when he says, we're going to get used to you not being around. With CeeDee Lamb, there's no sense of urgency to sign you. With Dak Prescott, well, contract isn't the only reason you can't be here. It might be an injury. It might be level of play. This is the messaging that you know he's sending, and he's doing the same thing with Micah Parsons. The problem, to your point, is it always ends in a deal. You always overpay and get the tax that because it took you so long, but there's nobody to call for that efficiency of funds because you're both the GM and the owner. Losing $9 million a season is significant for somebody that would be in that position if they had a boss that wasn't themselves.
It's worth pointing out that in the beginning of that soundbite, you may have noticed the camera was on the coach, Brian Schottenheimer. The questions were being aimed at him. Jerry was like, no, hold on a second. I've got something to say.
Well, this is a great adjustment for Brian Schottenheimer because he's going to understand very quickly
Yeah.
that when these big questions are asked, you sit and look at the camera and you let your owner answer all the questions because that's what he likes to do.
His training
and
camp.
that's what he does in Dallas.
The next one, and this is the one that Hawk was referring to, the question was, the question is aimed at Stephen Jones, Jerry's son, and this is what happened.
Oh, God.
Contracts are 4 or 5 years. Okay? There's a lot of water under the bridge if you step out there and do something in the first 2 or 3. You can get hit by a car. Seriously. And so there's a lot to look at over a lot of years that could make a big difference. Have you ever heard of any clubs committing to players and then they didn't pan out after they committed to them? We have.
I mean, so look,
He loves it. He loves it. This is the part that he loves. You want him to get the deal done early so that he can better construct the roster. He's like, no, don't rush this. It's my time, baby. It's my time. Listen, wait till I hit him with the hit by the bus line. They're really going to love that.
See, some of the things that he says, I understand why they make sense in his mind. He's saying, look, there are downsides to signing players to long-term contracts. The world would be a lot easier if they remained under team control, but we could decide every single year how much we want to pay them. The problem is that's just not the way the system works. It is inarguable when you look at the numbers that Schefty put up there at the very beginning and stuff that it does have an impact. It does take a toll. And I'm the one sitting here trying to get excited about the Cowboys season because I think they could be really good. I read somewhere yesterday their very first play of training camp was a long pass to George Pickens, and I'm thinking, let's go, baby. This is going to be good. The Cowboys are going to have a good year. And you have this in the middle of it, and you just don't know what impact it has.
That's the other side of it as well. Like, yes, you lose money, but also you need Micah Parsons to be at his best.
Right.
You need him to get as many reps as possible because, yes, he's a great player, one of the best defensive players that we have in the game, but he still has a little ways to go to get to his peak. And you're going to pay him premium dollar because you've waited so long and then lose out on him having fast starts to seasons like this one, which are pivotal.
And you know, I just realized the Cowboys can't and won't interrupt Sunday Countdown this year the way they did last year on opening day. They cannot and will not do that.
I know
because
why.
they play on Thursday.
That's correct.
So maybe when we're doing Get Up on Thursday, the deal will get done that day. More time during the day to get the deal done.
If not,
or
our
the night game against the Eagles.
Our friends at NBC will get the chance to break that one in their pregame show as we did last year in our pregame show. Look, I mean, it's funny because it's funny. There's no other way to put it. It is kind of funny. I think if I were a hardcore, passionate fan of the team, though, I would be pulling my hair out because there is this age-old question. Is Jerry Jones the problem with the Steelers? Is he the Cowboys? Is he the reason they haven't been to a Super Bowl since the 90s? And my answer has always been no. My answer has always been he's not the reason they get pushed around in the run game in a playoff game against Green Bay, all that stuff. They've put together good rosters and all of that. But as time goes by, it is increasingly difficult to not at least point some direction, some blame in that direction when you see all the increase,
the cost,
in
the cost of waiting
taken on.
I mean, we recognize that the seasons are so short and the playoffs are single elimination, so the margins are so small. And so while we're talking about a little bit here, a little bit there, those add up to big numbers, like 8, 9, 10 million extra dollars to add to your roster. Yeah, it's easier to stop the run if you have that money used there. It's easier to run the ball if you use that money there. So I think it's hard to argue, as well as they've drafted and as well as they've done certain things over the past 20-some-odd years, it's hard to argue that at least at this point, the way that Jerry Jones is managing this stuff publicly certainly isn't helping.
Hawk, I really enjoy having you here, and I hope that you'll be here for a very long time. But it's not inconceivable. You can get hit by a car on your way in the building, and that could be it. So if so, I just wanted to tell you how much I've enjoyed your presence here. Started in Washington, Terry McLaurin and the Commanders have not agreed to a new contract. What can you tell us?
The Commanders are working on a new contract for Terry McLaurin. They're trying to get it done, despite the fact that Terry said last week that he's frustrated and disappointed with the extension talks. But now everybody's back from vacation. Now everybody's back in the building. The big question will be whether or not Terry McLaurin shows up to training camp today with the rest of the Commanders. Possible that he could stage a hold-in where he's there and just doesn't practice, but that clearly is something to watch here.
An incredibly important player on a Final Four team. So is this. What's up with James Cook in Buffalo?
Also trying to get a contract figured out. Not easy. Wants to become one of the higher-paid running backs in the league. He was in attendance at mandatory minicamp last month, frankly, because he's scheduled to make over $5 million this year and can't afford taking on $107,000 plus of mandatory fines for skipping mandatory minicamp. They want a new contract. The Bills will try to work it out, but they haven't made a lot of progress so far.
All right, and then finally, the Bengals. What?
Trey Hendrickson drove overnight from Cincinnati to Jacksonville, Florida. He was spotted, as he posted on Instagram a few moments ago, in the Florida area. And the issue here is that he will not be at training camp today. All along, Trey Hendrickson has said he's not going to be playing football under his current contract, which is scheduled to pay him, I believe, about $16.5 million. So he's not going to show up to camp. He's not going to be there without a new deal. There he is this morning posting a picture in Florida. Now, he told me that he was going through Chattanooga, Knoxville, Atlanta, on his way to Jacksonville. Clearly, he's made a lot of progress on his route, but not as much with the Cincinnati Bengals in his contract negotiations. And the holdup here is guaranteed money. If we look at all the other pass rushers that have gotten guaranteed money this offseason, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, 3 years of guaranteed money for all of them. The Bengals have offered 1 year of guaranteed money to Trey Hendrickson. So you're talking about a team that has started slow in recent years, going to camp without its best defensive player, not to mention the fact that its first-round draft pick still also hasn't signed. He's the lone unsigned first-round draft pick, not the way to open training camp.
That's what I meant when I wrote he literally just left town. The chances may have literally just left town. This is a team a lot of us believe in because the quarterback is so good, the offense is so good, but this obviously is a disaster.
Yeah, and Trey's been an incredibly impactful player, even though the defense wasn't good. It's hard to imagine that you can be making a run, which it seems like they're trying to do by paying T. Higgins and paying Chase and obviously paying Burrow. They're looking to make a run at the championship without a game closer like this. Your defense was not great last year, but it's certainly not going to get better by losing him. I know Mike Brown complains about the reputation that this team has, Mike Brown being the owner, of not being willing to spend money, but this is an example of it. Like this, and arguing for extra or for unique default language in Shamar Stewart's contract in order to be able to not pay him guarantees should something happen just feels like.
In case he gets hit by a bus?
Yeah, there we go. Feels like he's been on the phone with Jerry Jones, and they are negotiating in tandem.
For those who don't know what he's referring to, Shamar Stewart, their first-round draft pick, not there, technically not a holdout,
Can't
right?
be there.
He's not a holdout.
Oh,
he
he's
can't
signed.
even be there because
he can't be there. He's not signed. He's not an employee of the team right now.
So, I feel like asking the question, like, how big a deal should I be making about this? It's the end of July. It's not the end of August. But these little things, in my experience, do tend to add up and matter when the big things start happening.
Yeah, they are a big deal, right? Because you have this window with Joe Burrow in this team, and you can't continue to start season slow because you don't have your best football players in the building playing football. Starting slow because you're working the kinks out and you're building chemistry is one thing. Starting slow because you are missing your two best pass rushers is a completely different story.
And I'll tell you the other thing. With Dallas, we have a feeling eventually it'll get worked out, and Mike is there. With Washington and Terry McLaurin, they'll figure out a way. They may be far apart right now. Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals have been going at this for the better part of 2 off seasons. No deal. We're down to 1 unsigned first-round draft pick, and both sides seem to be dug in. There's been talk about what would happen if he misses the season. Like, that is way premature in my mind, but it shows you that they don't appear to be close. So they're not close with Shamar Stewart. They're not close with Trey Hendrickson. They cut one of their captains and leading tacklers in Jermaine Pratt. The defense wasn't very good to begin with. And now you're talking about a team that should be competing for a Super Bowl, and now we're wondering what's going to happen on defense. And again, I don't know that we have a lot of confidence and faith that it's going to get worked out anytime soon here. That, to me, is a concern.
So, Hawk, you mentioned their slow starts. Just how slow have they been? Well, I'm glad you asked. If we could put up B29. Since 2019, Hawk, the Bengals have gotten off to bad starts every year. They are an almost unimaginable 1-11 in weeks 1 and 2. They've started 0-2 each of the last 3 seasons. And there's always something going on. There was the year that Burrow was a little bit hurt. They've had holdouts, Jamar Chase, and other contract problems. And now here, overwhelmingly their best defensive player on an overwhelmingly terrible defense to begin with, and they can't get this thing figured out.
These are impact starters. I mean, Hendrickson is like the guy on your defense. And when you go with the first-round pick, this is a guy that you expect to come in and start and make a big difference on defense. And you're missing both of them. Without them on this defense, yes, they're going to start slow, but more than that, this will and could derail the season. The Cincinnati Bengals playoff hopes are done if these guys don't get in the building.
Yeah, and I think it's the point is, for me at least, is that these are unique behaviors from the organization. It's unusual to have a pass rusher like that and be in a disagreement with them for over 2 seasons. Like, that's the part that's upsetting. Like, I get it if I'm on the team or I'm a fan of a team, and it's like, all right, this happens from time to time for certain teams. And again, the Shamar student, it's unique. He's the only one who's not there. The default language that they want is uncommon. It's unique. Like, you're trying to do new and innovative things in some way that aren't helping your team. That's the part that I would think would frustrate me.
And Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals basically had a deal worked out on the 2 years. Like, it's all in place, but it bogged down over guaranteed money. And really, that's unfortunate that you could be that close to an agreement and then not have it finalized because we disagree so strongly on the guaranteed portion of the deal. For weeks, we had heard about T.J. Watt wanting 4 years of guaranteed money, 4 years on his new contract. I had heard the Pittsburgh Steelers wanted 2 years. In the end, 3. It's not hard to do these things.